Yes, Israel, all praise unto the Most High. We're giving thanks and praise unto the Most High. It's another Sabbath again, you know what I mean? We're giving thanks, we're giving praises unto the Most High. Thanking Him for just giving us the breath of life, to give us health and strength, and to give us the Holy Spirit to discern and see what's going on in these times. And these times are very exciting times, and at the same time, it can also be times of trouble. Now, the lesson I'm bringing out today is, giving you, this is basically false prophet part 2. Did one earlier, which I did that yesterday. So today I'm doing part 2, and this is to basically show you these people who claim to be righteous and holy, which really and truly they're nothing more than a mob. They're nothing more than gangsters. They're nothing more than seed of Satan himself, right? So I'm not going to keep it too long. I'm going to go straight into it, right? So I want you to bear with me, and actually just stay tuned and watch this video. It's very, 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 very informative, touching on a lot of things. So, if you didn't catch something, you can stop the video and go back and look at it again, right? And we'll be taking some verses as well from scriptures, right? So let me go straight into it. And this is basically talking about the Jesuits. Jesuits, I can't pronounce it good. I call them Jezebel, but Jesuits are priests from the Catholic Church, right? So this is a rundown of and giving you insight, if you didn't know, to how these people operate and what they are doing, which you might not know because you're thinking, oh, a church man and involved in anything. You'd be surprised. As it states, false prophets. So with no further ado, let's get straight into it.
People generally forget the mistakes of the past. Citizens who were caught up in Hitler's Nazi Germany hardly noticed the gradual development of extremism, mainly due to high emotions and dazzling propaganda. But history often repeats itself. FEMA plastic coffins, detention centres, armoured checkpoints and armoured military vehicles for civil purposes are well-documented facts. And witnesses who have worked for the United States military claim stores of guillotines located in Fort Lewis military facility. The latest revelation of Obamacare sanctions death by guillotine, code ICD 9E978. However, Obama was only following the mandate of the World Health Organization, one of the specialized agencies under the United Nations. Is the United States government getting ready for a fascist quasi-dictatorship involving forced religion? It would not be the first time that fascism and counterfeit Christianity have merged. Fascism and Catholicism have become synonymous throughout history. Recent developments have seen so-called Protestantism clasping hands with the Vatican. Protestantism once meant protesting against the Roman Catholic Church and her doctrine, labelling the Pope as the Antichrist as the Reformers proclaimed during the Reformation. An ex-Jesuit priest, Dr. Alberto Rivera, explains, in America, the Vatican's agents were at work to wipe out the Protestant movement through ecumenism. The secret sign to be given to the Jesuits worldwide when this was accomplished by the Vatican was when a President of the United States took his oath of office facing an obelisk, four-sided pillar that resembled the Washington Monument and the one in St. Peter's Square in the Vatican. For the first time in history, the swearing-in ceremonies were moved to the west front of the Capitol, and President Reagan faced the Washington Monument on January the 20th, 1981. For those who are unfamiliar with the Jesuit order, it was the Catholic answer to counteract the Reformation sparked in 1517. Loyola Ignatius's formula for the formation of the Jesuits was approved by Pope Paul III in 1540. Napoleon Bonaparte had this to say about the Jesuit order. The Jesuits are a military organization, not a religious order. Their chief is the general of an army, not the mere Father Abbot of a monastery. And the aim of this organization is power. Power in its most despotic exercise. Absolute power, universal power, power to control the world by the volition of a single man. Jesuitism is the most absolute of despotisms, and at the same time the greatest and most enormous of abuses. The general of the Jesuits insists on being master, sovereign over the sovereign. Wherever the Jesuits are admitted, they will be masters, cost what it may. Their society is by nature dictatorial, and therefore it is the irreconcilable enemy of all constituted authority. Every act, every crime, however atrocious, is a meritorious work, if committed for the interest of the society of the Jesuits or by the order of the general. The Vatican has historically used civil powers in past ages as she does today. Kings, dictators, presidents and prime ministers bow and scrape to the most powerful and richest organization on the planet, because it is politically expedient to do so. The Roman Catholic Church is secretly tightening her grip on geopolitics and the autonomy of nations who are secretly serving the Pope. Pope John Paul II and President Reagan worked together, bringing about the collapse of the Soviet Union, with the first blow being the breaking down of the Berlin Wall. After years of the Vatican being accused of being un-American, the United States and the Holy See announced the establishment of diplomatic relations on January the 10th, 1984, under the Reagan administration. The Senate confirmed William A. Wilson as the first U.S. ambassador to the Holy See. The alliance between the United States and the Vatican benefited both political powers. The Cold War and Marxist atheism made the Vatican and the United States unlikely bed partners. As US presidents are well aware of the authority the Vatican wields, with just over 1.1 billion Catholics spread throughout the world, Jesuit educational facilities also spread and indoctrinate both Catholic and non-Catholic students with Jesuit maxims around the world, shaping the minds of future leaders so the Vatican is truly a force to be reckoned with. Some idea of the real estate and other forms of wealth controlled by the Catholic Church may be gathered by the remark of the New York Catholic Conference, namely that his church probably ranks second only to the United States government in total annual purchase. Another statement, made by a nationally syndicated Catholic priest, is perhaps even more telling. The Catholic Church, he said, must be the biggest corporation in the United States. We have a branch office in every neighborhood. Our assets and real estate holdings must exceed those of Standard Oil, AT&T, and US Steel combined. And our roster of dues-paying members must be second only to the tax rolls of the United States government. Avro Manhattan. The Central Intelligence Agency was the creation of Roman Catholic Knights of Malta member Alan Dulles. In recent years, CIA, NSA directors have been Catholic Jesuit-educated men. Historically, the confessional was the biggest intelligence-gathering machine of the Vatican. But now electronic surveillance has superseded the confessional as the single most effective tool of modern times, giving the edge on business, politics, and religion. A Catholic has first duty to the Pope before loyalty to a king, queen, or country. Perhaps this is why many misgivings are expressed about Roman Catholics holding positions that pertain to national security. Furthermore, we declare, we proclaim, we define that it is absolutely necessary for salvation that every human creature be subject to the Roman Pontiff, Pope Boniface. The Roman Catholic Church has always been savvy, influencing armies to do her bidding because wars cost money. Let's take a look at the leaders that the Vatican has used in the past to achieve her religio-political ends. King Clovis I, who united the barbarian tribes that eventually became the Franks, and then enforced the rule of the Roman Catholic Church during the decline of Rome after Emperor Constantine moved the capital of the Roman Empire to Constantinople. King Charlemagne enforced Catholicism and was then crowned emperor by Pope Leo III at Christmas in 800 AD. King Charles IX ordered the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre of the Huguenots, French Calvinist Protestants, beginning on the 23rd of August 1572 in mostly Catholic Paris. King Philip II of Spain ordered the Spanish Armada to invade Protestant England in 1588. Dr. Alberto Rivera, an ex-Jesuit priest, also gives us information on the rise of Adolf Hitler. Another great Inquisition was about to begin. Instead of wearing Dominican robes, they were wearing Nazi uniforms. Hitler's brown shirts, called the Nazis, back to the Vatican, used the same tactics of Mussolini beating and bullying opposition into submission, including Roman Catholics. Dr. Alberto Rivera. Hitler's book Mein Kampf was ghost-written by Jesuit priest Father Steinfeld. When it became known that Pope Pius XI supported Hitler, the Roman Catholic vote swept Hitler into power in 1933. Jesuit Father Himmler, an uncle of Heinrich Himmler, was a favourite of Jesuit Father General Count Hulk von Lidakowski. The SS organisation had been constituted by Himmler, according to the principles of the Jesuit order. The regulations and spiritual exercises prescribed by Ignatius Loyola were the model Himmler tried to copy exactly. Himmler's title as Supreme Chief of the SS was to be the equivalent of the Jesuit general. The whole structure was a close imitation of the Catholic Church's hierarchical order. Walter Schellenberg. Munich University was founded with papal approval in 1472 and was previously the University of Ingolstadt. Eventually becoming a stronghold of the Jesuit order, the university also became the centre of the Counter-Reformation. Jesuit Petrus Canisius was the rector of the university. Both Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Illuminati, and Pope Benedict XVI were educated here. Interesting enough is that Pope Benedict XVI was a member of Hitler Youth. Joseph Mengele was an SS Nazi doctor, who also was educated at the Jesuit-controlled Munich University. Mengele identified himself as a Catholic and assigned himself to Nazi Germany's racial purity project, which reached its climax at Auschwitz. He was called Uncle Mengele by the children whom he handed lollies to. Sadly, they were experimented on a short time later. The inmates who suffered at the hands of Mengele often died from shock and infection. In 1933, communications between the Nazis and the Vatican were welcomed by the Vatican's Secretary of State, Eugenio Cardinal Pacelli, a former papal diplomat to Berlin. During an elaborate ceremony on July the 20th, 1933, a concordant between the Holy See and the German Reich was officially signed and sealed by Vice-Chancellor Franz von Papen and Cardinal Pacelli. Hitler had a dream of a one-world government. Like many other Machiavellian men of past and present times, the Vatican will covertly support anyone whom they think will have a credible chance of unifying the world.
Now, Israel, let us stop it right here for a second, right? It states that the Pope or the Catholic Church always align themselves with people which have an agenda to have one world order. Now, if you think about it, this is the situation that we're living in now. We are living in a time where they want this one world order. They can watch you anywhere you go. There's nothing that you can't do without going through them. And this is one of the false prophets mandate.
Under one political umbrella so that the Vatican can force their apostate religion on others. The Guardian reported, as well as other sources, collaboration between the Nazis and the Vatican, helping war criminals escape the end of World War II. Dictator of Spain, General Franco, who championed the causes of Catholicism, fighting communism, using torture and execution to crush enemies or dissenters. While many are distracted by the false front of Zionism, the Roman Catholic Church has infiltrated and commandeered the United States without the public being aware. It is obvious that the US Constitution is eroding under the influence of the Jesuits, the crack troops of the Vatican. Breach of Amendment 6. NDAA Indefinite Detention Act without trial is an extension of the Patriot Act. Crafted by Jesuit Georgetown University educated Professor Viet Din. The assassination of foreign nationals, as well as US citizens abroad by predator drones, is also a breach of the Sixth Amendment. Chuck Hagel, Leon Panetta, and Donald Rumsfeld have attended Jesuit universities, and all have held the position of U.S. Secretary of Defense. The mighty and widely ramified Order of St. Ignatius was powerful enough to procure by its interest far greater advantages to individuals than could any other corporation, fraternity, or even secular power. Jesuit General Jean-Baptiste Janssens. Breach of Amendment 4, spying on U.S. citizens without warrant. Former NSA Director General Michael Hayden and incumbent NSA General Keith B. Alexander are both Roman Catholics and tools of the Jesuits. General Michael Hayden was also educated at a Jesuit university. Revelations from Edward Snowden reveal just how widespread this illegal surveillance extends itself. Many nations are holding conferences on how to counter.
Now, let me pause it there again. Now, this man that you saw earlier, and you call him Edwin Snowden, you should actually go and get some details on this brother here. He worked in the NSA, and he was a key, here he is, right? He's a key person within the organization, which he in the end ended up, coming out, and they call it a whistleblower, and basically telling you what the NSA is doing, which they're tapping everybody's phone and listening to everybody, which is illegal, right? And they do these things as what they state to be in your best interest, which is not necessarily, the case. It's actually going against your best interest, right? So we have to be smart as a serpent and harmless as a dove. So let's continue, because there's more to really, get out of this right now. Let's keep it moving. I'm going to actually go into scriptures after a few minutes and align it to what is taking place right now.
Reveal just how widespread this illegal surveillance extends itself. Many nations are holding conferences on how to counteract this problem. Public outrage has been expressed in places like Germany, but it seems that some German government departments, like BND, have implicit involvement with the NSA. Many governments portray disapproval publicly to the media, but secretly aid and abet US spy agencies. Breach of Amendment 2, the right to keep and bear arms. Michael Quigley, educated by the Jesuits, sponsored an amendment to the Patriot Act prohibiting the sales of weapons to people on the FBI terrorist watch list. The trouble is that the FBI now regards some protesters and independent journalists as a threat to national security, therefore deemed terrorists. The First Amendment is on the Roman Catholic Jesuit hit list and is of supreme importance to the Vatican. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law of the establishment of religion. When the Protestant movement broke away from the Roman Catholic Church, Protestants still honoured the Roman Catholic institution of Sunday. The Protestant reformers never completely severed the umbilical cord from the papacy. In this quote, the Roman Catholic Church makes sport of Protestants for contradicting their beliefs. Protestants accept Sunday rather than Saturday as a day for public worship, after the Catholic Church made the change. But the Protestant mind does not seem to realise that, in observing Sunday, they are accepting the authority of the spokesman of the Church, the Pope. Our Sunday Visitor, February the 5th, 1950. By the annihilation of the First Amendment, the Vatican can sweep many other religions and beliefs into a web of deception and control, making Muslims, Buddhists, Protestants, and any other religion bow down in honour to the Vatican, therefore Satan himself. Acknowledging her day of Sunday, or Sun Worship Day, that was not kept by any of the disciples or any of the early churches, comprising Gentile or Jew. When the early church became...
No, I hope you listen to that enough, Israel, all right? Even in the early days of Christ, that's what he just said, and even the Gentiles and Jewish or Jew, whatever you want to call them, real Jews still, but I call them Jewish, right? Nobody worshipped on Sunday. Sabbath was the day of worship. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. You can go into the Bible itself and read Exodus 20. You can actually go into Genesis. It tells you there's so many parts of the Bible. Isaiah, in Luke. So, I mean, I can go on and on. It clearly states that that day is the day of worship, right? And these guys come up with it, which this was not just knowing of, this was like on way before a lot of us were even on earth. That these guys came up with that plan to worship on a Sunday, trying to go against the Most High's will. As I said, they are what? False prophets.
Became corrupted by departing from the simplicity of the gospel and accepting heathen rites and customs. She lost the spirit and power of God. And in order to control the consciences of the people, she sought the support of the secular power. The result was the papacy, a church that controlled the power of the state and employed it to further her own ends, especially for the punishment of heresy. In order for the United States to form an image of the beast, the religious power must so control the civil government that the authority of the state will also be employed by the church to accomplish her own ends. The United States government has three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. The most powerful branch is judicial because they have the power to interpret the law. Even if a law or amendment is unconstitutional, they still reserve the right to make the final decision. The majority of the Supreme Court judges are Roman Catholic, with the other two judges being Jewish. Laws can be written in a sort of ambiguous way, crafted by Jesuit-trained lawmakers, so that Supreme Court judges can interpret them any way that suits the papal agenda. There are hidden, laying dormant in many of the states of America, insidious blueprints for the enforcement of Sunday law, and a gross breach of the First Amendment. Blue laws are used, which refers to laws enacted by the Puritan colonies in the 17th century to prevent recreational or commercial activities on Sunday. And during the 19th century in America, some southern and midwestern states passed laws to protect Sunday as a day of worship both on a state and local level. Penalties for non-religious activities on Sunday targeted Seventh-day Adventists, Jews, and other non-religious people for not attending church, playing cards, baseball, and menial chores. In 1889, A.T. Jones, a Seventh-day Adventist, spoke before a United States Congressional Subcommittee, the topic of the discussion being the Breckinridge Bill, which proposed the compulsion of Sunday observance in Washington, D.C. Jones's testimony helped to defeat this bill, and he became known for his abilities in defense of the bill and knowledge regarding freedom of religion. We can see the Jesuits working covertly through the European Sunday Alliance organization to enforce Sunday as a day of rest in the guise of a secular family day. Before 9/11, it was hard to imagine that a government could enforce such laws as warrantless wiretaps on citizens, detention without charge or trial, or assassination of citizens deemed a threat to national security. Is it that hard to imagine a government now enforcing religious observance by fine, imprisonment, and eventually the death penalty? While you're thinking about that question, there are drones circling the skies ready to obliterate anyone the CIA, NSA, or Department of Defense give authorization to kill. There are facilities in the United States that qualify as a quasi-neo-fascist system of dealing with civil unrest by potentially enforcement of tyrannical laws. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, sounds eerily similar to the Committee of Public Safety, which beheaded many during the French Revolution. Recent DHS advisors and secretaries like John Brennan and Janet Napolitano are Jesuit-trained. Jesuit education was described by Jesuit General Pedro Urupe in these terms. Jesuit education would consist in the creation of multiplying agents. Lisa Monaco, former prosecutor, was an advisor to FBI Director Robert Mueller and advised the DHS on counter-terrorism during the false flag operation of the Boston bombing. Little do people know that Barack Obama was groomed by the Jesuits and worked in a Christian grassroots organization called the Gamil Foundation under the direction of Jesuit priest Gregory Galuzzo, who became.
So as you can see right here now, Israel, is that even Obama himself was trained by Jesuits. So when we think that Obama was for black people, we got it wrong. He was not for black people. He was for the Jesuits. This is why one of his mandates when he actually left out of office was he enforced the law stating that same-sex marriage is legal in all all states in America. Right? So I'm going to go right into scriptures right now. So let me go right into it. So I'm going to go to Matthew, Matthew 7, verse 21. And it reads, right? Not everyone that saith unto me, Messiah, Messiah, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father, which is in heaven. Right? So it's stating right here that it's not everybody is gonna
became his mentor.
is gonna get into the kingdom, right? Not because they're saying Messiah, Messiah, or Christ, Christ, right? But many will say unto me in that day, Messiah, Messiah, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? But the Father, what he's going to say to them, and then will I prophesy unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, he that work iniquity. Right? And this is what these people are doing right now. They are the workers of iniquity. They do not have your best interest at heart. They are about themselves. They think about nothing but power. They think about nothing more than trying to keep you in line so they can have you in any which way they want. So if they say Trump, you say, oh, hi. Now, I think people really forget that the government was designed in order to work for the people and not the other way around. We're not supposed to be working for the government. The government should be working for us. So we have the power as a people, but somehow these guys have a spell on the people which they cannot see themselves. And because of that, they are doing the will of these wicked iniquity workers. Now, let me tell you, because a lot of us, I should say, not say we, but let's say a lot of people are not, following the laws and statutes of the Father and fearing the Most High. This is why they are caught up in this thing, because what they're doing, they're putting fear on you. Instead of you fearing the Father, which can do far more worse compared to what man can do unto you, we are fearing men. And they're putting fear in you by so-called whatever they're putting out there in terms of what is going on and all this stuff, and we need to implement this and that in order for you to be safe. But that's far from the case. These people are here to destroy and conquer. That's all they are. Right? They are false prophets, the workers of iniquity. Right? So, Israel, I'm going to bid you farewell. I'm going to say unto you, Have a blessed Sabbath. And until we see you again, until next time, you know, have a blessed day and all about showing love and singing praises unto the Most High. Right? So with that, I would say shalom until next time. Farewell and blessed be